Hello, welcome back. I'm Evan Brand, Certified Functional Medicine Practitioner. Today we're talking about mold toxicity. This is a huge subject. I will not be able to cover everything I want to in one video, but let's consider this part one. So mold is not what makes you sick. It's really the mycotoxins that molds produce or off-gas. And so there's something that leads up to this. How do we get exposed to mold? Primarily by breathing in water-damaged buildings. At least 50% of buildings have some sort of water damage to them. That's just an estimate. The number is probably way higher because I'm testing hundreds of clients over the past several months and I've never found anyone that doesn't have some level of mold toxicity. So when we talk about molds, really we're speaking about the mycotoxins that are produced. So for example, down here, ochratoxin, this is what I have in my body, unfortunately, way too much of it. And this is from a mold species called Aspergillus. Aspergillus produces ochratoxin. It off-gases that into the air. And when you live in a water-damaged building that has Aspergillus mold growing, it's off-gassing the ochratoxin. You breathe in the ochratoxin and it damages the cerebellum. And in some cases, people actually get misdiagnosed with Alzheimer's or Parkinson's-like conditions because what ochratoxin does is it damages the cerebellum. This is the back right part of the brain, really an important area for balance and coordination. So when we start to see people dragging their feet or becoming more clumsy, running into walls, tripping over things they normally didn't trip over, noticing balance issues, especially in low light situations, that's all because of the cerebellum being affected. So let's back up a little bit though. We jumped right into that. Over here, high moisture. This is the first situation that happens. Now I live in Kentucky where the humidity level is ridiculously high and a lot of times our moisture level outside is 60, 70, 80% humidity. And so inside your home, if you're above 50, you're going to have mold growing even if you don't have a water event, meaning you didn't have to have a pipe burst or a leaking HVAC system or the sink overflowed or the toilet overflowed. You don't have to have a water event necessarily to have mold growth. We've seen dozens and dozens of homes that were very new, very well kept, that just had way too much moisture. So number two obviously is water damage. Now if you do have a water event and you don't get it dried up in 48 hours or less, you're going to have mold growth. And how bad does that become? It depends. There's a lot of different factors that go into that, such as the humidity. What type of material got wet? Was it a concrete floor? Was it tile? Was it vinyl? Was it paper-backed wallpaper? Was it some type of an organic material, like an untreated wood, for example, where the water was able to seep into a subfloor, for example? Those type of materials determine the mold growth. And then food mycotoxins. Now, this is a small percentage. Some people would like to convince you that food mycotoxins are the #1 source. They're not. Breathing in water-damaged buildings is the #1 source. However, if you did get exposed to moldy coffee, for example, moldy wine, for example, alcohol just in general, nuts and seeds, like a lot of people, including myself, doing almond butter and other things. If those nuts that were used in the almond butter were moldy before they get made into almond butter, that could be an issue. How do you test those foods? I personally don't know. If you know how to test mycotoxins in foods accurately and easily, where consumers could just throw in a sample of almond butter and test it, that'd be really cool. But this is a minimal 10% maximum. According to some of the researchers I've spoke with at the mold laboratories, they say 10% or less related to the food. The rest is breathing in. And then fetal transfer. So this is, I'm talking maternal exposure. We know in the literature that mycotoxins, for one, they cross the placenta. There was this thought that the placenta is this perfect, encapsulated fetus and the placenta protects the baby from all the toxins. Not true. We share all the toxins with baby. So moms out there, if you were in a moldy building while you were pregnant, we'll talk more about that in a second, but just know that your child, if they're suffering, they may have had some mycotoxin transfer from you and also through the breast milk. We know mycotoxins go through the breast milk. We know that this damages the immune system, it suppresses it, and then right here, miscarriages can be tied into mycophenolic acid. And I work with a lot of women, and infertility is a huge problem. The conventional doctors and fertility doctors don't have a clue that it could be mycophenolic acid. So when we find a woman who can't get pregnant, we test her urine, and guess what? We often see mycophenolic acid off the chart. And what this also does is it promotes Clostridia, which is a bacterial infection. And over here, if you can see it, it also promotes Candida. So when we're working on someone and their gut has an overgrowth of Candida, we often have to make sure the mycophenolic acid is binded out of the situation using chlorella, charcoal, etc. Check out my video on binders for detoxing mold. That's what we have to do to get this taken care of so the woman can get pregnant and have a healthy baby. And then we've got gliotoxin. Now, gliotoxin is another one that really damages the brain cells. It's neurotoxic, and it's actually created from Candida as well. I've seen people that their home is perfectly fine. We see no evidence of mold growth or anything. So we're like, where does this come from? And there was a couple pieces of literature saying, well, hey, Candida may actually be creating gliotoxin. And I believe that's 100% true because I've seen enough cases of Candida overgrowth. I then test the urine for mycotoxins, and I see gliotoxins show up every time. We take care of the Candida, we retest, the gliotoxin's gone. So that's pretty cool. And then lastly here, I don't even know if I'll pronounce this right, but I'll try. I call it Chato Globa Syn, and there's actually supposed to be an A here. Chato Globa Syn A. This one is very toxic even at small amounts, and this comes from a mold that has the same name, Chato Globa Syn. This is also found in water damaged buildings. Highly, highly neurotoxic, aka it kills your brain cells. So when we look at the Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, dementia, all these big neurodegenerative diseases that the older generations are getting, we just blame it on old age and we say, oh, that's just what happens when you get old. Put them in a nursing home and just let them rot away. No, we need to be testing all these people, and I guarantee we're going to find, especially if they live in a moldy nursing home, that these people have tons of mycotoxins. And if we get these older people, and not just older people, I mean, younger people can be affected majorly. I've seen people in their teens, even 5-year-olds I've seen have major cognitive issues. They show very high with mycotoxins. Just thinking out loud with you here. The older people, though, that we just give up on, we need to be testing their urine for mycotoxins and helping these people detoxify. So glutathione is always critical. I personally use a acetylated version of glutathione combined with N-acetylcysteine. It's a formula I have called Glutathione Pro. You can check it out there. There's other types of liposomal and other glutathiones out there that can be beneficial as well, but that's what I personally use, and I also use it clinically. So glutathione's critical to get this stuff out, and then some of the binders that I referenced earlier, the link will be below or up here. And then sweating is key. So I'm in an infrared sauna 2 to 3 times a week, 30 minutes. That's about the sweet spot. If you go too much, you start to deplete yourself, and if you go too often, you deplete yourself. So sauna at the right temperature, the right dose, the right time. I do 130 degrees Fahrenheit. It's about the sweet spot for me, far infrared, and you just sweat buckets. And at that point, we know that ochratoxin's been found in the sweat. So I'll follow up with you as I just retested my urine to confirm how well my detox protocols worked, but I'm feeling better. So we're on the right track. This is Evan Brand signing out. If you'd like to reach out and get yourself tested for mycotoxins, it's part of my new client intake. I do this for every single person I work with now because I've realized how important this is. I'd be happy to help. You can reach out and schedule a free call with my staff by clicking on screen. Take care. Bye-bye.